Tonight it all begs the question, where do we go from here? How can our nation and our government move forward? Jon Delano joins me now live over Zoom. Jon, let me just ask you, are you optimistic that when a new administration takes office, there is a chance that there will be perhaps a fresh effort on the part of all toward some sense of unity?
Optimistic, unify, yes and no. I think on some levels of President Biden, obviously the tone of the government is going to be much, much different. I think we'll see a little reduction in the level of volume on so many things that President Trump has been engaged in. But this is a very deeply divided country and a deeply divided Congress. It's divided 50-50 now in the U.S. Senate. Obviously, the Vice President Harris is going to be able to cast a tie-breaking vote. But even within the parties, you have in the Republican Party, we saw it the other night, we have the pro-Trump faction, and then we have the more moderate to conservative faction that doesn't really want anything to do with Trump in the Republican Party. In the Democratic Party, you've got your left wing, your progressive Democratic Socialists on one level, and then on the other, you have sort of the moderate to liberal mainstream Democrats. Joe Biden is clearly in that camp. So both parties are divided. The country is divided. I think on policy issues, it's going to take an extraordinary effort by President Biden to find the common ground that both the House and the Senate can support. So, you know, obviously we're all trying to be optimistic about the future. But I think politically we're still deeply divided.
The president is allowed back on Twitter, and he posted a video about, I guess, a half an hour ago now, and he talked about unity, he talked about peace, working to establish an orderly transition, and he also, for the first time, really condemned the rioters at the Capitol yesterday. He said what happened was heinous. What did you make of the president's video tonight, and why do you think he did it when he did not go that far yesterday?
Well, I think he did it today to keep his job, because I think, frankly, the pressure was to either remove him from office through the 25th Amendment or possibly to impeach him in the U.S. House of Representatives. This may stave all that off. Frankly, this is 2 months too late. His seeming concession, and it wasn't quite a concession speech here, but it really was something that would have been more helpful a day or two after the election. And of course, his condemnation of the violence, again, people were calling on him to do that when the violence was going on, so that it might have some impact, maybe, I'm not sure whether it would have, on those who were engaged in the violence at the U.S. Capitol building. So I think a lot of people will sort of shake their heads and say, too little, too late. You know, nice try, Donald, but doesn't quite go far enough. And certainly the timing of it is very suspect. But let me just add, it's much better than him saying nothing at all. And so I think we all ought to be grateful that at least he said something, and something positive.
Yeah, all right. There's been a lot of talk today about the possibility of a long list of presidential pardons coming before the president leaves office, and perhaps on the list will be himself.
Yeah,
we've talked about this before. Legal experts say can't do it.
And I've talked to the legal experts on this. It's very hard to find anyone who says the president has the right to pardon himself. That has never been tested in the courts. And you know darn well that if he tried to pardon himself and some court felt, or some prosecutor felt he should be charged, they're going to go ahead and charge him. Because the fact is, the Supreme Court has never ruled that a president can pardon himself. And think of the danger that is. The president could commit a crime while he's in office. Let's say he shoots somebody, kills somebody, he pardons himself for that crime, and then steps out of office. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that the founders of this country would give the president the right to commit criminal acts on his own and to pardon himself for those criminal acts. So he may try to pardon himself, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere or mean anything.
Jon, as always, appreciate your insight, and we'll talk again with you soon. Thanks.
Always good to be with you, Ken.